Andy here, and today I wanted to talk about the books that I read of yours. And today I wanted to talk about your horror books. So I was really surprised that I've gotten a lot of emails about people wanting me to read and kind of like review or talk about their stories. I've been a little overwhelmed with how many people have emailed me, but I thought it might be fun to start a little series where I had a few people send in books at a time and I was able to read a few of them and then talk about your stories. So these are people who have either subscribed to my channel or have come across my channel in some way. I think also maybe some publicist type people have sent me books of their clients as well. But anyways, I opened a PO box. I had a few people send them in. This is the first video of the series. I'm a little hesitant to put my PO box in the description just because I don't know how many books I'll get, and I would hate for people to send in books if I never get to them. So I don't know, I'm kind of iffy on that. Let me know what you think I should do, if I should just open it and then pick a few books at random to read, or if I should just kind of reply to people's emails individually. I don't know. Either way, if you don't see your book in here, it'll be in the next video because I had split them into two parts. These people were kind enough to send me their work and I was very excited to read them. These definitely aren't like Stephen King type authors. They're either independent authors or, you know, smaller authors. I am a writer myself and I just have always wanted to support smaller writers, and so I think that this is really important to do, to read books and talk about books that maybe aren't, you know, in Barnes & Noble or easily accessible. So this is why I wanted to start this series, and I'm really excited to talk about them. That being said, the very first book that I picked up was called The Undertaker and Other Macabre Tales. This is by Derek Hutchins. This book is, two of these books are going to be a little bit more challenging to talk about because they're short stories versus novels, so I feel like there's just a bit more I can say about a novel versus individual short stories without going into too much detail about each one. But this one was so damn fun. I had such a fun Okay, calm down. I had such a fun time reading this. It's written as an anthology, so you have separate stories, but they're all linked by one specific thing, which in this case is the intro. And so if you guys have seen the movie Body Bags, that's what this book kind of reminded me of for some reason. I mean, that is an anthology too. By the way, if you haven't seen that movie, I highly recommend. It's a really fantastic film. It kind of reminds me of something like that. There's an undertaker who works at a cemetery and he meets a writer at a gravesite, and he finds that that writer writes stories based on what the dead tell him. Does that make sense? So he hears the stories of the dead and then writes them down. And then those are the tales that follow that you're able to read. So it's just such a fun start to, you know, any novel. And I had just a lot of fun reading it. Even the intro I thought was really fantastic. And this is actually the first few sentences that I just wanted to read to you. It says, "He dreamed of machines, clunking and splattering, glowing red eyes that pierced the darkness, mouths that spit and sputtered black oil, grinning with a wicked metal grin as they dumped freshly dug earth on top of him." I thought this book was very, very well written. Well, first let me talk about what the stories were about. So there's stories about banshees and ghosts and urban legends, just really fun, like October-y, Halloween kind of tales. If you want something to get you into the mood for Halloween, I think that this would be a good one. A lot of the stories, I do want to talk about, like, the tone of each story was so different from the next one. The descriptions, the dialogue, they were all so different, and I think this writer did a really great job at being able to differentiate characters and stories. Sometimes that's hard if one writer is writing a bunch of stories to have them not be too alike, even though, you know, it's by the same writer. But for example, he writes a lawyer and the lawyer sounds like a lawyer, and he writes a college girl and the college girl sounds like a college girl. I think he just did a really good job at bringing each of the stories to life in their own way. They all had great pace and nothing felt stilted or like out of place in the stories. They had a lot of concepts, but they're all supernatural kind of ish stories. Some of them were really unique. So I think my two favorite stories that like stand out in my head. There's one story about how a man keeps seeing this ghost zombie kind of guy on his lawn, but his wife doesn't see it, and it keeps getting closer and closer to the house. This story I thought was so fun, and then you kind of hear the backstory and go into more detail about it. And then I think my favorite story was actually a story about these two, I think they were like college age students if I'm not mistaken, and the story is written through emails to one another. So they're replying to each other's emails, and that's how you get the story told to you. And I just thought that that was such a fun, creative way for the reader to be able to hear the story. And it's more of like an urban legend where she goes to this town and you're not allowed to go out at night, and then she finds out why, and it's just really fun. And I just love stories that give me something that I've never experienced before, and I don't think I've quite ever read a story like that. So who would like this specific book? I think that if you enjoy body bags, you would like this. I think if you love fun short stories, it kind of, the way I would describe it is like an adult anthology Goosebumps kind of thing. I don't exactly know why I pick Goosebumps. If you can hear my husband, I don't know what the hell he's doing. But that's just kind of what comes up into my head, like an adult Goosebumps. That's how I felt reading it. It was creepy, it was strange, it was mysterious. The stories were just fun, and I think that if you just like, fun, creepy stories to kind of get you in the mood for Halloween, I think that this would be a great big book to pick up. I'll leave all of their information down in the description so you guys can figure out like who they are if you want to follow them or purchase any of their books. All in all, it was extremely well written and I really enjoyed reading it. The next book that I want to talk about was called The Nightcrawler, and this is by P.A. Shepherd, and it says the scariest monsters are the ones we least expect. And this is actually book 1 of the Still Extant series. This book is about a post-apocalyptic world where these giant insects are a danger to people, so it's like human versus nature, but then there are also gangs and obviously other people, so there's a lot of human versus human in there as well, which I think runs pretty parallel to most post-apocalyptic kind of stories. This one is about a young girl. She's first in the beginning stuck with her father in a vault because a local gang is trying to break in. Let me read a quote for you from this very first page. It says, "The low winter sun cast its final rays upon the derelict shells of the deserted city. Despite the cold, rich hues of red and oranges highlighted the pioneering weeds that gripped the walls and clung to life in a dead place." I really liked that quote, and that's just the first paragraph of that, so I think that there was a lot of fun sort of description throughout it. She's stuck in a vault with her father. You learn that there are these giant insects. You don't know how the bugs destroyed the world. You don't really get much information on the bugs, but again, it is the first book, so it seems like it's just setting up, the rest to take place. There's also not a ton of character development, but I think this was intentional on the writer's part. There is a bit of twists and turns in this book. Like the ending I really, really enjoyed, and even there's a little twist like halfway through the book, which I really liked too. And I think if we got too much character development, I don't think that those twists would be as effective as they were, so I think that's why a little bit of the character development is a little bit held back. But it's kind of like the movie The Mist, or the book The Mist, where you get descriptions of bugs and insects based on animals that we know. So for example, oh, these giant roaches, or this one that looks like a bull, or something like that. I can't remember exactly what animal, but you get what I'm saying? So this kind of happened in The Mist too, where there's not a whole lot of description. They kind of just say like, oh well, let me plant a seed in your head of what you might think it looks like based on something that we already know. And so I did enjoy that. I think it left a lot for the imagination of the writer to come up with their own kind of conclusion on how these things looked. You do get some description of claws and things like that, but not like huge chunks of description. I wrote the ending is a lot of fun on this one as well. I think that that was just my favorite part, and it really did shock me. I was pretty surprised by the ending. I think the people that would like this book are people who enjoy obviously post-apocalyptic kind of things. I think that if you're really into like action, go 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 type of stories, I think you'll really like this. If you don't like the books that are really slowed down to, really explore character development or the scenery or this or that, I think that this would be a good book for you to pick up. It is very action-packed through the whole thing. It definitely keeps your attention, and you are kind of just along for the ride to see what happens. I think people who like fun twists in the middle and the end of books, I think they'd like that. I think people who enjoyed The Mist would like this book, and as long as you're okay with like a lot of insect, if you don't like insects, then maybe this wouldn't be the book for you. Okay, I have to tell you guys, I hate centipedes. Oh god, I hate them so much. Spiders, I'm fine. Snakes, I'm fine. Anything, I'm fine. It's just these creepy crawly bastards that I absolutely hate. Luckily though, I was scared that they were going to be in the book, and maybe they're in a later one, I don't know. But luckily there was no description of them. It was just that front cover that just like, ooh. Oh, I did want to ask the writer, Paul, a quick question based on his little author thing in the back. It says that he's currently based in Bulgaria, so I was curious if that is still true. When did this book come out? When was this published? 2021. Okay, so maybe that's a stupid question, but are you still in Bulgaria? Oh, it says that he's renovating a spooky old house in the woods, so please tell me more about that. I'm very curious. But either way, a fun book, very action-packed, and that is that one. Next up, this one is called The Hands That Pull... I think I wrote it down incorrectly. Hold on. The Hand That Pulls You Under. Yeah, okay. Oh! I just kicked a candle. Okay. This one is called The Hand That Pulls You Under. This is by James Flynn. And this one, too, like the first book, is a bunch of short stories put together. This one's not so much connected in any way. It's just a fun group of short stories. I did really enjoy this one. This writer says that their main objective when writing is to create the strangest, creepiest, and weirdest tale he possibly can, unsettling all those who read it. I think that the biggest takeaway I got from this was the intricate plots. Like, they were so fun and unique and not like anything you had ever read before. They were a lot more imaginative than I was expecting them to be. Yeah, I think the creativity in this one was a lot of fun. I really also enjoyed the well-developed characters in this one. I think that a lot of the characters you really got to know, even though you had a very short time with each one. I mean, sometimes he's talking about like 5 characters and you can still keep track of them and kind of know who they are, and that was pretty impressive to do in such a short span of time. There's a lot of stories. There's one about a man who's down on his luck who finds a city of homeless people and they all consume mushrooms that grow within it, and like crazy shit happens from there. There's also stories about exchanging memories. You go to a place to kind of get your memories removed and get other ones put in, and this person gets the memories of the killer. There's a drifter who's caught on camera in various countries, so people go on a quest to find him. There's one about a writer who'll go at great lengths for his stories to be read, and so he thinks that maybe if he commits crimes based on his story, that he'll like get a cult following from them, which I thought that was one of my favorite stories. And actually with this specific story, he has a few pictures and also some poetry for each story as well. This is my favorite. This was from this one that I was just telling you about, because he writes a story about a lottery killer, which is just so fun. I don't want to ruin it for you, but it's like a story within a story, and I just really enjoyed this one. There's one about an acid trip gone wrong. Just a lot of variety in there. Also, like I said, there are poems before each story, which is fun and kind of sets it apart from other novels. I love having drawings in books. I don't know, I just really love seeing other people's visualization of what they wrote and then comparing it to my own. I will say a lot of these stories are definitely more like sci-fi based. People who enjoy sci-fi would enjoy this. I think there's a lot of futuristic robot-y type stories in there. There's also a lot of, I have no idea what I wrote. I don't know what that word says. Unique plots, and it's also very sexually explicit too. So depending on, you know, the type of writing that you enjoy, that might play a role into if you're interested in a story like this. All in all, it was fun. I think the stories were very entertaining. Yeah, I'm excited to see what else these people have written. I really enjoyed myself doing this, and I thought this would be a fun video idea, and especially for those of you who are trying to find like more hidden gems in, you know, the horror or sci-fi world. I thought that these videos could be maybe helpful to people like you. So let me know what you guys think about this video. Let me know which one sounds like something you would want to read. If you guys are interested in sending me stuff, I still don't know if I'm gonna open my P.O. box yet. Let me know your thoughts on that. Sorry, my camera stopped recording. But a big thank you to Paul Shepard, Derek Hutchins, and James Flynn for sharing your work with me. I really appreciate you guys sending me a copy of your stuff, and I'm excited to read other stories. So Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow with another horror video. Bye, guys.